don't? We do. Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Beauvais, please lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much for coming today. We do have a time-specific agenda item, which is 105, commemorative resolution for Russell Felton. Russell, you'll come up, please. Okay. And I've asked Commissioner Beauvais to read the resolution for the commission.
This is Commissioner's Resolution number 16-1134, a resolution in recognition of the service of Mr. Russell D. Felton. Whereas Mr. Russell D. Felton, Russ, has served the Port of Port Angeles since 1984 and retires as the Facilities Maintenance Lead on June 30th, 2016. And whereas Mr. Russ Felton has devoted 32 years of his life to the port, making him a staple and fixture at the Port of Port Angeles. And whereas Russ began his career in 1984 and his working facilities maintenance department as the licensed plumber for his entire career at the port. And whereas Russ has mastered the plumbing trade with purpose, dedication, decades of experience, tremendous skill, and the highest level of professionalism. And whereas Russ's amazing institutional memory, breadth of knowledge, steady presence, quiet demeanor, and 1,000-watt smile will be greatly missed. And whereas Russ has earned the utmost respect from his peers, supervisors, and co-workers, both past and present, for constantly striving for the highest level of quality in every job he performed. And whereas the port staff sincerely admires and respects Russ as a proven leader, valued co-worker, incredible person, and most importantly, as a genuine friend. And whereas the Port of Port Angeles genuinely values the service and loyalty of Mr. Russell Felton to the Port of Port Angeles. And whereas Mr. Russell Felton can now devote himself to his hobbies and his family. Now therefore be it resolved that the members of the Board of Commissioners of the Port of Port Angeles, the Executive Director, and staff take this opportunity to thank Mr. Felton for 32 years of hard work on behalf of the citizens of the Port District and express our sincerest wishes for his continued good health, happiness, and pursuit of his retirement goals.
I think we got it.
Way too many whereases. We've appreciated all of the opportunities and the challenges. It's been quite a ride. Seen a lot of things accomplished here at the port, from the marinas to the killer helicopter, all those buildings, all of the infrastructure that we've dealt with and have been able to be a part of. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Russ, before you step down, Mike and staff, Karen, I'd like you guys to have an opportunity to say a few words, and I will too after you finish.
Yeah, well, whoever wrote the resolution hit it spot on. Russ has been a very calming influence on the port. I've actually been so fortunate to be able to confide in him on a very personal level. I have utmost respect for him. I think his knowledge base is off the charts. I imagine he'll be getting some phone calls down the road about this. So I've totally enjoyed working with Russ. Russ reaches back and informs a common thread through some folks that are no longer here that we have deep affection for. And I'm not saying that we yearn for the good old days, but we do respect the good old days, I think. And I think that Russ and I have a common kinship in that way. There's been some real characters that have worked for this organization and very colorful people. And so it's been a pleasure to work with Russ. And thanks for being the good guy you are, and good confidants.
I was just listening to that. I said, started in 1984, and I was 2. But yeah, when I first started here, just getting instructed throughout the port. It was incredible, your knowledge of, 21 years ago we did this. I mean, how do you remember that? I don't know. So it was incredible. I mean, you took the time, me, Chris, the new, facilities manager. So you've been just a real key part of being able to string us along going through this. So I appreciate that very much.
I know when I worked with Russ and that calming force, absolutely, and really enjoyed working with you, and things like, oh yeah, they don't have sewer right there because we teed it off at this location and it then goes over in this direction. Just a wealth of information that I would think if there was going to be a sole source personal service contract based on knowledge that no one else has, I think you would be a ringer for that. So,
Where the puppies are at.
yeah, the institutional knowledge that he carries, I think, has been critical, and it's going to be really missed. So hopefully, the facility maintenance team will have you on speed dial, and you won't put us on your block caller list.
I don't have caller ID yet.
What are you gonna do?
Whatever my life.
Smart man.
Ask him what he's doing on Friday.
I'm pushing.
Good.
Well, and
Thank you so much.
I have known Russ since 1996, just not too long after I moved here. He has llamas, llamas at his farm, and I have alpacas, and alpacas were kind of unheard of here in 1996. So I was able to reach out to Russ and his family to get involved with some more livestock type people, and I really appreciate that. I've heard nothing but good things about your work over all the years that I have been here. And I'm sure the port would be happy to accept a book from you, a kind of a history book, in your spare time. But I know that you'll still be considered a valuable person to call when we have those questions. And I certainly appreciate everything that you've done.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
I will make a motion to introduce resolution number 16-11, oops, wrong number, sorry. 16-1134 in recognition of Russell Felton.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to introduce the resolution. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and the motion carries unanimously. And do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 16-1134?
I move that we adopt resolution number 16-34, a resolution in recognition of the service of Mr. Russell D. Felton.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt Commissioner's Resolution number 16-1134. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and again, the motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. We'll have that available for you by the end of the day, Russ.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Okay. So the next item on the agenda is approval of consent agenda.
We're gonna go straight to time specific.
Oh, at 1:10? All right, yeah.
Let's just do it.
Oh, yeah, let's put that on hold and go ahead and move to time-specific item agenda, selection of executive director. So, but before we dive into this, I'd like to take a moment first for the public to recap the extensive public process for this hiring, which I characterize as the single most important decision the three of us will make during our term. We came to this point after 6 months of extensive public process. The recruiter we hired received 41 applications. Of those, we carefully reviewed more than a dozen resumes and applications in detail and finally selected 5 candidates to interview, with 1 applicant declining our invitation. The commission then conducted 4 public interviews that were videotaped and recorded. Staff interviewed the candidates. We held an open event for all the public to attend so they could personally meet the 4 candidates. And lastly, we conducted lengthy executive session interviews. Following those closed-door interviews, we each were to conduct our own due diligence. Commissioners, have you had an opportunity to conduct the full due diligence on the candidates for the executive director position, and are you prepared to discuss your perspectives and your positions now?
Yes.
Yes, I have.
Okay, and who would like to begin?
I will. I was very impressed with the applications that we received. We received applications from all over the West Coast. Unfortunately, only a couple from port districts. That pool seems to be kind of limited right now, and I've talked to some other ports who are interviewing, and they too have the same lack of applications in this field, and are having to look to public entities and even private businesses to hire an executive director. We looked at applications from as far away as Florida. I, for one, was very impressed with the applications that were received, and we did screen them down to the top 10 was what we had our consultant do, and then we screened them down to the top 5. And we had some, as you heard from the public interviews, some incredible expertise out there from different private companies, as well as the port experience. So I was very impressed with all of them.
Steve, do you have any comments?
Yes, I'd just say that in this process, we had very qualified candidates, especially the 5 that came forward. And I was excited that we had 2 candidates from our own community that applied. And I was also very gratified that the process also included the staff. And the staff was part of the interviewing process. And I think that was good and healthy to have that as part of the process. And it's one of those, it's a tough decision because we had a lot of very qualified candidates, but I think one of them, in my mind, did stick out.
Okay. So I want to be specific about the folks. Dave Walters is from this community. He was brilliant. He's very likable. I think during our conversations with him, I know I learned a lot from him that I want to adopt in my practices. And I really look forward to getting to know him further. Karen Goshen, our interim executive director, she's deeply committed to this organization and our community. She's cause-driven. She took a deficient, inaccurate, and dysfunctional accounting system and turned it into a tool that we can all use that will give us information about how we're doing in our port. She's kind, she's thoughtful, she's diligent, she's a strategic thinker with great depth and compassion. Jim Coons from the Port of Walla Walla, over the last 2 decades, 26 years plus time at Port of Benton, he's led successful projects that created county growth, significant county growth for Walla Walla. As I thought about all this, I kept on going back to the fact, why did I come here to the port? Why do we serve? And it's because we believe in our county and we want to grow our economy. We want to really have the port not just be a landlord, but help our port to grow jobs in this county. And so we need to set the stage for the businesses in our county to prosper so that all citizens in Clallam County have the opportunity not just to survive, but to thrive. That's our intent, so we need a strong leader to make that happen. So, commissioners,
Madam President,
do we have a motion?
I move we direct Jones Strategic and consultant with our Port Council to begin negotiations on an employment agreement with Ms. Karen Goshen as the Port of Port Angeles Executive Director on an at-will basis. If the two parties can come to basic agreement on the terms, Port Council will present the agreement to the Commission for execution at the next subsequent Commission meeting. The Commission's intention is for pay and benefits to be similar to that of the former Executive Director and begin employment as soon as possible.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes. After spending 2 very long days interviewing the top 4 of the 41 applicants, speaking to a number of persons outside of the interview process to learn more about my top 2 candidates, and in reflecting on the process and the candidates, I know I am making the best choice for Executive Director of the Port of Port Angeles. Karen Goshen has done yeoman's work these past 6 months as Interim Executive Director. In spite of an organizational chart that needs to be revamped, gaps in staffing that she has been covering herself so that we can have the new Executive Director make those staff hire decisions. Working with 2 new commissioners, catching up on port projects, actively working on getting that desired airline into Port Angeles, working with staff to write and meet target objectives related to the port's 5-year strategic plan, moving the Cape Ply restoration forward, including construction of a washdown pad on a fast-forward path so that marine trades businesses can use their properties for other yacht work activities. Yet she still has time for a laugh and enjoy a walk with her dog. Karen has a calm, steadfast approach. She knows the goal and knows there is always a good path to be found to reach that goal. Twists and turns don't faze her. That being said, I know that Karen is anxious to make us a more business-friendly port, to enrich the diversification of our business lines, find new avenues to create the family wage jobs our communities are hungry for so our young adults will have a reason to stay in the communities they grew up in, and other young adults will want to move here to begin a career. To work with the Commission and agencies in the county as the commissioners reach out to other public entities to see where we all can work on common goals and how we can help each other on projects that are specific to one entity or community. We have looked up and down the West Coast as far as Florida in this Executive Director search. Having gone through this process, this commissioner is certain that we are selecting the best person for the position of Executive Director of the Port of Port Angeles.
Thank you.
I had 2 candidates that really stood out in my mind. One was Dave Walters, and at the end of the day for me, he was a wonderful, wonderful experienced business person, but he's also intimately connected with CRTC, and we want that to succeed. And I just felt that that would not be a good choice. We want CRTC to have the good people too. And I got to experience working with Karen for the last 3 months about, and I think the example that she gave me of is Karen ready to do this, is she called me yesterday and had me come in and talk about port business, and that's the day before that there's no guarantee you would get the job, and you're doing port work on Sunday. And so I know without a shadow of a doubt the dedication and the desire you have to see the port succeed. And in the last 3 months that I've seen, you've been a great example of what I would like to see in an executive director. And you've demonstrated it in difficult situations because you kind of have the responsibility and not quite all the authority as an interim. And that's difficult, and I saw you navigate that very well. And you work really good with the commission, you work really good with staff that I've seen, and you're a good listener. And I think one thing I took away from Dave Walters when he was talking to us is the executive director needs to be a good listener, and you do that very well. And so it was not a hard decision for me. And so I'm very excited that you're going to take off your interim hat and put on it's your ship to helm hat, and I think we're in good hands.
So I really am excited about this, and Karen absolutely is dedicated to this port. You know, she had said that she would stay here even if she wasn't selected. is the executive director. And that in and of itself tells you a lot about the person that she is. She is fully supported by this commission. I was amazed by the quality of, to me, it was 3 candidates, and was thinking about the potential of having one of those other 2 be the executive director. But she really has brought this port forward so far in 6 months in comparison to years previously, what we've accomplished. I hope the staff will completely support our selection. She is a visionary, she's a leader, she's quiet and thoughtful, and that allows others to be the best version of themselves while she supports them. I'm really excited about this, and I'm happy for you and for us and for our community about this selection.
Well, I really value and appreciate you showing the confidence in what I've accomplished and have seen me grow in the role and to give me this opportunity to lead the organization. Very much valuable.
So we have a motion and a second, and we've had discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the motion carries unanimously.
All right.
So-
Now we're excited.
Good job.
No more Sundays.
And ice cream Sundays?
That we can do.
We can do.
Okay, so with that one behind us, we're going back to approval of consent agenda. So,
Have a motion that we approve the consent agenda as shown.
I will second. I believe we have a change to minutes,
Yeah.
though.
right. So
We have to
can
pull-
pull
we-
those
we have to
work
pull
session
those?
minutes?
Well, we can make note of that change.
Okay.
Does Sylvia or someone have the written change for the June 16th work session minutes? The sentence we're adding at the end?
It's the sentence after the one sentence that was there. It says Commissioner McAleer reconvened the work session at 5 p.m. and the meeting will adjourn.
Thank you.
So the motion is as amended.
Well, that's what was presented to us.
Is that?
Yeah,
That wasn't added
This is-
here. And this is what went out to the public.
Oh,
so we
it
had
went out
add
to the
that
public.
sentence.
Okay, got it, thank
So
you.
as a, motion is as amended.
Okay.
And I'd like to hear about any other than normal expenditures and vouchers, please. Mr.
We have all
Secretary.
normal expenditures. There, I would try to find something that I could
Staff
highlight,
dinner.
and there just wasn't anything. We are getting closer to finishing up the T1. I noticed we're at 5% remaining, so we're getting closer on that. And we're also starting to pay Reed Middleton for our designs of our industrial, marine trades industrial area, so that's very exciting to see, but nothing out of the ordinary.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion, and you seconded it, I believe, Steve?
I motioned, she
You
seconded.
seconded it, and so we've had discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And so the motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, so early public comment session. Do we have any public comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll move into planning, general planning, none. Capital planning, new business, resolution number 16-1133, RCO boating infrastructure grant, Port Angeles Boat Haven fuel float.
So Congress created the Boating Infrastructure Grant Program under the Transportation Equity Act for the 21st century. The program provides funds to states for development and renovation of boating facilities for recreational vessels 26 feet and longer. The Recreation Conservation Board's Voting Infrastructure Grant Program policies require the grantee governing body to execute a resolution authorizing the submittal of a formal grant application. So we're in the process of applying for funding through this Voting Infrastructure Grant Program. This would replace the existing fuel float system, the fuel dispensary system, the float, and the gangway down to the float. This existing float was installed in 1973 and is constructed from a retrofit barge hull. The BIG program provides funding to develop and renovate boating facilities targeting guest recreational boats 26 feet and longer. And the funding source is a portion of the Federal Aquatic Resource Trust Fund managed by United States Fish and Wildlife Service. So the Resolution 16-1133 authorizes the Executive Director to make a formal application to the RCO for funding assistance and certifies that a share of the project fund is committed by the Port. So, and there's a little breakdown of the schedule and of the dollars associated with that in your write-up in your packet. Just wanted to make note that it's a prorated share. We talked a little bit about that in the work session, but I thought I'd just bring that up again. And it's just based on the percentage of users that fit that bracket of 26 feet and longer and are recreational boaters. The 2016 through 2020 capital improvement plan allocated about $700,000, and after we finish preliminary design work, we have a new estimate that brings it up to $750,000. That number was a broad estimate developed earlier, and now that with more refined plans, we've got a newer estimate. The recommended action for the commissioners are to open, to look at the resolution 16-1133 at this time and allow for public comment on the proposed application of the Recreation Conservation Funding Board for grant assistance. This is one of the items that they want to make sure that the public had a specific opportunity to make public comment. So that'd be my first recommendation before introducing and potentially accepting, is to open a short public comment period for anybody who may want to make public comment.
Did they say public comment or public hearing, and how long of a time period were they asking for?
It doesn't specify that. It just, in the grant guidance, it wants the board to allow for public comment. And I think it would be good for us to have within the minutes that we open a public comment session on this grant application.
Now, for it to actually be worthwhile, should we hold off, because we hadn't really announced that we were accepting public comment, and we probably, it doesn't really help to have public comment if you didn't tell people we were going to have public comment.
I believe it was in the attachment to the agenda, so it was online.
The public comment part, or just the
And
resolution?
the recommended action.
The recommended action of
Okay,
the
public comment.
website.
Okay.
To be honest, I view it as more of a box checking exercise when I apply for some of these grants, that I can provide the minutes from our commission meeting that showed us that we allowed for public comment. I wouldn't expect to get a lot more public interest if we were to delay another cycle and have a specific item next meeting that would allow for public comment on a grant application.
Okay, then I would move that we open public comment for resolution number 16-1133 at this time, and allow for any public comment related to the application to the Recreation and Conservation Funding Board for grant assistance.
So you introduced the resolution?
No,
No.
I'm motioning that we have public comment.
Okay, I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
So now at this point, is there any public comment on resolution number 16-1133? Okay, hearing none. We will go ahead and move on, and I'll accept a new motion to introduce resolution number 16-1133.
I will move to introduce Commissioner's Resolution number 16-1133.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second to introduce. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the motion carries unanimously to introduce the motion. So therefore, since it was unanimous, I can accept a motion to adopt resolution number 16-1133.
I move that we adopt said resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and the motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Check, check, check.
Got all the boxes checked.
Yes, exactly.
And there will be an opportunity where staff will work with our stakeholders and things on the design, so.
Okay. All right, the next item is Surveillance, Access Control, and Lighting Improvement Project Bid Award.
Now, this is seeking authorization to award the surveillance and access control and lighting improvement project to Northeast Electric LLC. The Port's master policy, section 3A, requires all public works contracts over $50,000 to be approved by the commission. Some background on the project for the scope of work is to include surveillance improvements that install new cameras and image stabilization equipment and software at the marine terminal, Port Angeles Boat Haven, and John Wayne Marina. Access control system improvements to upgrade existing software and controllers at the marine terminal, Boat Haven, and John Wayne Marina. And lighting improvements including replacing of high-pressure sodium lights with LED lights at Terminal 1, Terminal 3, and Terminal 4. And there will be additional light poles and fixtures be installed to illuminate the upland parking area for Terminal 1 and Terminal 3. So the project was advertised in the Peninsula Daily News and the Seattle Daily Journal of Commerce on May 13th and again on the 20th. And we held a pre-bid site meeting on the 25th that allowed contractors to ask questions and to have a tour of the site. And then bids were received and opened on June 15th. There were 3 bids received from Northeast Electric LLC, Dalton Electric Company, and Colville Incorporated. The lowest bid received was from Northeast Electric LLC. Their bid met all requirements of the bid documents and were free of mistakes and errors. So they had a responsible bid. Additionally, we checked their bond, prevailing wage compliance, and relevant projects and concluded that they were a responsible bidder. So their total bid was for $669,955.36. The port will be responsible for 25% of that amount, or $167,489. Department of Homeland Security's Port Security Grant Program will pay for 75% of the project, or a little over $500,000. So this project is specifically funded in our capital budget. We have a $220,000 of port funds and $660,000 of grant funds allocated this year. Includes this project along with some design work and purchase of radios and base station to go to aid in communication from the airport down to the marina, the marine terminal area. So staff recommends the commission authorize the interim executive director or executive director to execute a contract with Northeast Electric LLC and the amount of $669,955.36. And before you get any motions or questions are raised, I will wait to formally award this contract. I'm waiting for written approval from the grant agency for an extension on the grant. I've got verbal okays that we'll get it, but I haven't received anything in writing. So with your authorization, we won't proceed with awarding the contract until I have written authorization for an extension, grant extension. So I just want to be clear about that. If it does take some time, it's because I'm waiting for formal written correspondence.
Because right now we do not have,
I do not have written authorization for an extension on the grant. That is correct.
When does the grant expire?
September 30th. So I'm requesting an extension to go through January 30th. So we had that back in March and still haven't received that final formal approval. So
okay,
I'm proceeding as much as I can, and I'm going to wait with your approval
yeah, I think we should add that.
to award. If you want to make that within your motion, that seems
And
appropriate.
Northeast Electric LLC,
Mhm.
where are they located?
Oh, brother.
I assume it's not here since we're northwest.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the north.
You know, I don't remember off the top of my head. The Puget Sound area somewhere.
Do you know if he had any local subs included?
I am not aware of that either.
Did any
They're
local,
self-performing most of the work with their electrical company.
did any local electric contractors?
You
Bid?
know, Olympic was throughout the process expecting their bid, and then they did not turn in the bid.
So they were involved in the process?
They were in pre-bid, and they had
Okay.
questions throughout, and I was expecting them to receive a bid, but I did not.
What about
receive their bid.
Angeles Electric?
They did not. No, they did not participate in the bid process.
Okay,
Yeah, there's a lot of public works.
okay. All right.
Well,
Need a motion?
I'd make a motion to authorize the interim executive director to execute a contract with Northeast Electric LLC in the amount of $669,955, with the contingency of it getting a written authorization for an extension from our grant provider.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris.
Okay, item C, capital planning, old business, none. Item 6, property, no items. Item 7, marinas, new business, none. And B, old business, review marina advisory committee applications.
Commissioner, we do have a time-specific item for this at 2 o'clock. Do we
Okay.
want to
Oh, sure, yeah.
Take this at that
Very
time
good.
and proceed on?
Yep, good point, thank you. So we had informed the Marina Advisory members that we would be addressing this at approximately 2 o'clock. So we will come back to that item and move into new business, airports, FIA apron construction bid award.
Yes, Commissioner. You can see the appropriate RCW and FAA AIP information there at the top. Background for this, Port advertised, Peninsula Daily News, the Daily Journal of Commerce in May, for the project of constructing the new general aviation apron on the south side of the airport between our FBO Wright Brothers and the terminal building, which you've seen several times. Additional item, remove approximately 50,000 square feet of pavement adjacent to and north of runway 13 for purpose of stormwater mitigation. We had a pre-bid. The port received 2 sealed bids for the apron project on June 7th, with Lakeside Industries being the apparent low bidder. And you can see the bid amounts there, and they include Washington State sales tax. The engineer had estimated $900,000 to $1 million for this project. There was a minor mathematical error in Lakeside's bid proposal. The bid was increased by the amount you see there, but it did not alter the order of the respective bidders. The port has verified Lakeside and its proposed subcontractors have active business licenses, workers' comp, Department of Revenue accounts, and they're not debarred from bidding on Washington or federal projects. Environmental impact, the port has obtained a construction stormwater general permit from the Department of Ecology, also a clearing and grading permit from the city of Port Angeles. The funding is scheduled to be under FAA and WashDOT grant by next month. The FAA, as it has in the past, will fund the project at 90%, and WashDOT has indicated verbally that they will be funding it at 5%, with the remainder covered by the port. Our 2016 capital budget included $52,000 for apron improvements. The port match is a little above that, about $1,600 higher, and additional port funding for that will come from the flexible projects budget. So staff is recommending that the Commission, upon receipt of FAA grant number 36, authorize the Executive Director to enter an agreement with Lakeside Industries for construction of a new general aviation airport apron at William Fairchild Airport in the amount of $1,071,772.21.
I'll make a motion that upon receipt of the FAA grant number 36 for the apron Phase 4 project, that the Executive Director is authorized to enter into an agreement with Lakeside Industries Incorporated for construction of the new general aviation apron at William R. Fairchild International Airport in the amount of $1,071,772.21.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any discussion? Okay. No discussion? So, all in favor?
Aye.
And the motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much, Darren. You got another one there for us?
Yes, follow-up. This item is for a construction engineering agreement with Reed Middleton to be out there on site for the apron project, as well as some additional design work. Background, the Port Commission selected Reed Middleton back in December of 2014 to be our consultant for a 5-year time period. The Port, Reed Middleton, and the FAA have been working on this apron project extensively over the past several months. And the consultant submitted a scope and fee proposal on May 27th for the construction engineering. We sent that out to get an independent fee estimate to a fairly large firm, ACOM. They turned around the independent fee estimate in a timely manner. We got it back on June 17th. And then the Port and Reed Middleton successfully negotiated and FAA approved final project scope and fee on June 22nd. As far as the analysis, you've heard this before, the importance of having that apron out there for vintage business jets and reducing the congestion along the fuel tanks. So it's an important project that's been in our 5-year capital plan for quite a while. As far as the funding, same percentages apply to this project, where the FAA will fund at 90%, WashDOT at 5% with a Port match of 5%. One minor item here, we have used up all of our $52,000 in apron budget funding for the construction. So I went begging hand in hand to Chris Hartman, and the Port match of $10,597 will also come out of the flexible projects grant. So that's a total of a little over $12,000 that we're using for these two projects for the flexible projects. And again, the reason for that was because we had the additional requirement for the stormwater and the design and removing of pavement and all that. It was just unexpected and it boosted the cost a little bit. So staff is recommending the Commission, upon receipt of FAA grant number 36, authorize the Executive Director to enter an agreement with Reed Middleton for construction engineering of the new General Aviation Airport apron at William Fairchild Airport in the amount of $211,941.
Are they providing construction management for this
Yes,
as well
yes,
as engineering?
yes, that's the major part of this.
Okay, I would make a motion that we, upon receipt of the FAA grant number 36 for the apron Phase 4 project, authorize the Executive Director to enter into an agreement with Reed Middleton Incorporated for construction engineering of a new general aviation apron at William Fairchild Airport in the amount of $211,941.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes. Now that you're hatless, I'd be happy to give you one of mine. I have many. Don't want you to feel left out here. That's all.
Okay. On that, any further discussion?
No, nothing to add to that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Oh,
We have,
and just a quick question for Chris. Chris, I noticed that you didn't mention whether they had been debarred or not for that other one.
Yeah, we have a checklist we go through, so
And that has it on
checking
it.
debarred,
Because I know
absolutely. is
the
an
auditor
item.
is really
That's
big
correct.
on that.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. I just didn't notice it was.
Yeah, I didn't put every item, I mean, it's an extensive checklist we go through.
We also have an additional check-in at county that when we put our contract cover sheets together that says this is the amount is awarded and then how much is spent against it. When we're setting up that file, we have that's a requirement, so we checked it in a couple of places.
Great.
okay, so we have 3 more items to complete before the end of this meeting. And so 2 of those are about advisory committees, and I think they will both be longer than 9 minutes, which is when we start the Marina Advisory Committee discussion. How long, Karen, do you expect the resolution 16-1132 requesting Board of Natural Resources to address timber arrearages Does that require more than 10 minutes? No.
Talked about it this morning,
Okay.
so.
So let's go ahead and move into that. That is item 10, old business B. So, who's going to be taking that for us here?
So on that resolution, we brought a draft to the commission previously in a work session and talked about advocating to have the Board of Natural Resources ensure that the Department of Natural Resources harvest the sustainable harvest that has already been calculated and approved on the timberlands because of how those timber revenues provide or go to the county and get distributed to all the taxing districts. And one of the best ways to make that position known is in a resolution that has the full support of the commission behind it. So since the first time you saw the draft resolution, the part that has changed is one minor change that I made on the resolution, and I left your red line version at your places that talks about in one of the whereas that actually is the money that goes to the county that has been distributed to the state, the counties, and other taxing jurisdictions. So that was one change that we made in the resolution. The other part that we made in the resolution was I updated the dollar amounts. I worked with County Commissioner Peach as far as trying, and with the county treasurer's office as far as getting the tax receipts, or I should say the timber revenue receipts that all the jurisdictions have received. And attached with this resolution then is that spreadsheet showing what the receipts have been. And then off to the left-hand side, it indicates whether we have two sustainable harvest units within the county. One is the Olympic Experimental State Forest, and one is the rest of Clallam County. So various taxing districts get money from one or the other or both. And the way we've calculated the arrearages, and this is an estimate in calculating the arrearages because it was DNR cannot tell us specifically what units were not harvested that resulted in arrearages. They can just tell us on a million board feet perspective what was not harvested. So at the bottom of page 2, what we show that the actual harvest for the Olympic Experimental Forest was 357, but the sustainable harvest was 575, so that resulted in 218 million board feet that were not harvested, or about 38%. So what we did is looked at what was received and said that 38% of that amount was not received, and that would have been an arrearage from converting it from a million board feet perspective to a dollar perspective. And then for the state trust lands for the county that are outside the Olympic Experimental State Forest, the actual harvest was 158, but the sustainable harvest was 185. And so we had a shortfall there of 27 million board feet, and that represented about 15%. So that's the formula that we used. The plan is to take the resolution down to the Board of Natural Resources along with the supporting documentation of how we calculated it and present it to the Board of Natural Resources at the July 5th meeting.
As noted in the backup documents for this resolution, the Clallam County arrearage and the total arrearage from 2006 to 2014 cost our taxing district $17,236,632. This cannot be overlooked. It should not be trash canned. The state needs to do its job as the trust beneficiary and be responsible for harvesting this arrearage and getting it to us. And had we already had our timber advisory committee, this is certainly a task that I would have asked them to take on and write this resolution and possibly even present it to the Board of Natural Resources. But the Board of Natural Resources is moving very quickly now that the land commissioner has decided not to run again, and he's trying to clean up a lot of things before he leaves. And but there is movement afoot to try to roll the arrearage over and possibly even do some things with setting aside huge amounts of timber for the HCP, the Habitat Conservation Program. We cannot let this happen. So this resolution is our emphatic statement to the Board of Natural Resources that we need them to do their job. We'll only have 3 minutes to do this. I myself will practice this resolution, and if I cannot read it in 3 minutes, I will have a member of the staff read the first part of it, and then I'll take my turn and finish it off.
So the item I'd like to highlight on this resolution is the fourth whereas. And that states the state has, our Supreme Court has held that a trustee must act with undivided loyalty to the trust beneficiaries, to the exclusion of all other interests. A trustee must seek full value for trust assets, and it may not sacrifice this goal to pursue other objectives, no matter how laudable those objectives may be. That being the case, I do not understand why this is even up for discussion.
Yes. I also find it interesting that since our county has started being emphatic with the Board of Natural Resources and the Department of Natural Resources, the timber harvest amount has gone up. So if it takes this kind of voice for us to get them to do their job, that's what I intend to do.
Well, I think we can say we've already been successful then.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Commissioner Meckler, that I don't feel as a trustee that we have been represented well with our trust lands, and that our highest and best interest has been accounted for by them, and that needs to change. And I think this is a good first step towards changing that relationship to be more focused on trustees that actually own the land.
I want to ensure that we are not proposing, that the public understands, we are not proposing an adversarial relationship whatsoever. We are just advocating for our rights and what we feel is an obligation of the Department of Natural Resources in this area.
Well, it is in fact a contract that they have signed in their 10-year decadal harvest commitment, and they just have not kept up with that. So the funds that have been expected to come in haven't.
Now, didn't they, the last time they had arrearage, they just rolled it?
That's correct.
So that's the standard, and we're asking for this to be done differently.
Yes.
And that could take a couple of different ways. It could mean, what it will mean is that they will harvest more than the next sustainable harvest calculation, or to incorporate that in so we get those harvests back. We get those timber revenues from those harvests back. Whether they do it over a 5-year period or a 10-year period, that they provide for recouping those 257 million board feet in the Olympic experimental forest, and also the 27 million board feet in the rest of Clallam County.
Now, is this something that can be addressed with this lands commissioner, and then will have to be readdressed again with the new one? Or can we, once the commitment's been made, is that just have to get readdressed again?
It has to be addressed as they do the new 10-year decadal harvest. They have to address arrearages.
So it's right into their formula.
It's kind of it should be kind of an attachment to that they need to do this in addition to the 10-year decadal service. Last time, they just rolled it over and then just did a whole new plan. But we want to make sure that they keep it separate, because they do want to get this 10-year decadal harvest determined before the lands commissioner leaves. So we want to make sure that that stays a separate issue.
Okay.
Okay, so
Madam President, I'll make a motion to introduce Resolution 16-1132, requesting the Board of Natural Resources to address timber arrearages.
Second.
okay, we have a motion and a second to introduce resolution number 16-1132. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the motion carries unanimously to introduce the resolution. Since it was unanimous, do we have a motion to adopt resolution number 1132?
Madam President, I make a motion to adopt Resolution 16-1132, requesting the Board of Natural Resources to address timber issues.
Second.
Arrearages.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 16-1132. Any discussion?
No.
Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the motion carries unanimously.
I do have one request, though,
Yes.
that now that we have approved this, and again, I will work with staff so that it's properly read to the Board of Natural Resources, but I would also like this resolution to travel around the county to the taxing districts and to include the county commissioners with a cover letter on it, letting them know that of the action that we are taking, and that we would appreciate their support also.
I plan to draft a cover letter and send it out to all taxing jurisdictions with the backup support for it, and offering to help explain it, because I think the more taxing districts we have advocating for this position, the more successful we will be. I also will share it with some of the other court executive directors who work with DNR, what it's saying perspective.
Could you also put in that cover letter when it would be the best or the most appropriate time for the junior taxing districts to go down there and voice their concerns?
July 16th.
Is that the only time, or is that just the next time?
No, that'll be the next meeting.
They typically have held meetings the first Tuesday of every month, but in July they're holding an additional meeting, and they may hold some other additional meetings since they have a lot to work through, but I'll provide the schedule and a link to the website so that they can know if additional meetings are available.
Okay.
All right, and it was John Nutter that did the majority of this staff work to prepare this? Is that
No,
correct?
it was myself.
It was yourself. Well, you did a fantastic job on this, so I was gonna say, please pass the congratulations and the thanks on him, but forget that. Thank you, Karen, for the extensive work on this, and the thorough aspect of it. Appreciated that very much so.
I got a lot of support from other folks in the timber
Okay.
industry.
So it's just after 2 o'clock, and we ask members from the of the public that have an interest in the Marina Advisory Committee to attend while we spoke about the Marina Advisory Committee. So, Gary, if you'll take it away for us, please.
Yes, Commissioner, let me give you a little background, most of which you're familiar with. The Commission established the Marine Advisory Committee by resolution in April. The Commission said that the committee will advise the Port over the roles of the marinas as a community asset on environmental issues and other things as the Commission directs. The specific areas of recommendation are limited to the list, as you can see there, except as otherwise directed by the Commission. But they include boating culture, waterfront events, safety, capital improvement, marketing, strategic planning, clean harbor practices, and education. The committee is to be set up with 11 members, representing a broad cross-section of stakeholders, from John Wayne Marina, from the Port Angeles Boat Haven, and the community at large. They're to serve for terms of 3 years. Any replacements would be selected by the Commission in the event of unexpired terms, and the members serve without compensation. Through direct mailings, newspaper ads, email, and web posting, the Port staff solicited applications for committee membership. The deadline was June 17th. And we sent out an email last week to invite those who are able to attend on short notice to address the commission briefly for up to 2 minutes each. So I see some of them are here, and I'd like to thank them for attending. As part of the membership selection process, the commission might want to consider authorizing an initial budget for the Marina Advisory Committee in the range of $1,500 to $2,500. And they might want to encourage the members to stagger their terms to get going, where a third might serve for 1 year, a third for 2 years, and a third for 3 years. That's just a suggestion. Additionally, I do want to note that we did not have any applicants from the categories of commercial boat building, nor any from the category of tribal fishing treaty. So the commission may want to consider today, if you do choose to appoint people, to appoint less than the full complement. That would give the commission time to determine if the members you actually do select have that background already, or it would give you time to re-advertise for additional applicants if you so choose. So today, we're recommending review the applications, hear from the applicants that were able to attend the meeting today, and then if you choose, appoint committee members to the Marina Advisory Committee.
Thank you very much. So commissioners, have you had a full opportunity to review the applications of the public that submitted?
Yes.
Yes, I have.
And do we have any discussion on it?
Can we hear from them?
Yes. I'd like to hear from those who came.
Okay, terrific. Please, for those of you that are here, I know some of the faces, but if you'd like to speak about who you are and why you have an interest, and am I seeing any takers? Come on, Doc.
You can get up there, Doc.
It's okay.
Someone else can start.
My name's Doc Robinson. I'm here from spending the morning with the county commissioners on PA-CAN's economics committee. That is part of the reason that I applied for this, but also I have a background with marinas. I was a kid who wanted to sail. The family didn't have the means for a boat. Joined Sea Scouts, sailed all kinds of boats, gaff rigged. Worked my way up until I got a job at 16 on the foredeck of a charter schooner in the Bahamas, which was a dream job for a 16-year-old boy, and have been in and around boats, deep water boats, shallow water boats, motor boats, jet boats, most of my life. I'm also, when I worked for the RAND Corporation, I worked on large port issues. My scenario for a deployment to Saudi Arabia was just being finished in 1990 when all of a sudden we had to deploy to Saudi Arabia. And so it was on our advisory group that was helping us to send container ships out of southern ports, basically skidding along the bottom because they were full. And the result of that was the ability to build a city the size of Oklahoma City in 90 days in Saudi Arabia. So I have some experience with transportation in ports and recreation in ports. And sooner or later, I'm going to end up with another motor sailor, and it's going to be parked down here in this marina, and that's why I applied.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doc.
Anyone else? Any other takers?
Sure, we'll get up. My name is Bruce Alexander. You see my application there. I'm doing this because my wife and I have moved back to Sequim, Washington. We were here probably, 18, 20 years ago. We raised our kids here. We had a boat at the John Wayne Marina. We've got a 40-foot motor sailor that we just brought into the marina about a month ago. And we're liveaboards as well. I have a brokerage business here in Seattle. I do yacht brokerage here in the Seattle area, plus in California. I've been a treasurer and an officer of several yacht clubs, which we actually owned and managed our marina, so I have some knowledge of the marketing and marina operations.
Fabulous.
Plus, I do have some knowledge of commercial boat building and boat sales, so that could be some insight there. But primarily I want to give back to the community and be, and get, I guess, get involved again in the community. So,
Thank
hope
you
you
very
consider my
much.
application.
Thank you, Bruce.
I'm glad you moved back to the area.
Thanks.
My name is Tom O'Loughlin. I'm a resident of Clallam County and Port Angeles. I've been around here for about 6 years now, so I'm kind of still a newbie. I have a boat at John Wayne Marina, and I'd like to represent recreational boaters and members of the Port Angeles Yacht Club and Swim Bay Yacht Club. I am commander of North Olympic Salem Power Squadron. We have over 150 members. Many of them, most of them, have boats in either Boat Haven or John Wayne. Many of them are members of the Port Angeles or Swim Bay Yacht Club. We use the facilities of both yacht clubs to present educational classes and seminars to the public on boating skills and boating safety. And we do vessel safety checks and a lot of other things actually, but I consider those kind of the important ones. I also have some marina experience. Coming from New Mexico, of all things, my sailing club owned and under contract with the state of New Mexico operated and maintained a 102 slip marina. Okay, and we all participated in that. Everything from contract review to collecting moorage fees, working with Fish and Wildlife, to dock maintenance and duties of other sorts. Quite an adventure. I did that for a number of years. Finally, yes, I'd like to give back to the community, don't we all? I can offer my experience, my business experience, not necessarily in marinas, but it's quite varied. Most recently, having been responsible for the finances and operations of a division of the city of Albuquerque. So I'm familiar with almost everything you guys do on a business basis in terms of bonds, contracts, employee hiring, firing, and so forth. So I can understand a lot of what you do and can interpret that in terms of representing our membership and those who are members of the yacht clubs locally. So consider it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Please. Thank you.
Just to end the silence.
Thank you.
My name is Stu Harris. I've been in swim for about 11 years. I had a boat at John Wayne for about 6. I've had a lot of usage in terms of marinas. I was a member in South San Francisco and Redwood City, user of the one at Oxnard, Marina del Rey, San Diego. So I've seen a lot of yacht harbors. I've also had occasion to travel around the world a great deal as a guest of my uncle in great big gray destroyers. And so most of the international ports in Asia and in Europe and in both the east and west coast. In those occasions I was concerned with getting in and out of port, usually on the bridge when these things transpire. The reason for applying for this is I do feel an obligation to do something for the town. And I'm interested in getting a look at county government. So in essence, that's it.
Thank you very much. Okay, so you want to, no? Okay.
Jerry, do you have a recommendation? We have 12 applicants and it's supposed to be an 11-person.
So I have my list. I have your list.
Well, yeah, I had 11 applicants. We have 12?
I think I counted 12.
Counted 2. Oh, I think you're right. It's 5 and 7. Well, I divided up between Port Angeles and Swim. 5 people that use the Port Angeles Boat Haven and 7 that use the Swim John Wayne Marina. So 12 in total, with 11 slots on the advisory council, but we did not have anyone that had commercial boat building or tribal fishing treaty categories. Thank you. Have, Jerry, the people that put applications in, can you characterize which of those have been actively involved in the past with the Port Angeles Boat Haven or John Wayne Marina? In advisory committee realm or volunteering or that kind of thing?
Actually, probably not, to be honest. I mean, most of them, just about all of them own a boat. They're evenly split pretty much between Sequim and Port Angeles addresses. As you take a look, several of them just have vast experience at other marinas. I did not know any of them personally, but obviously, like with the Power Squadron and some of the Yacht Club members, I know that the folks have been involved with that.
Okay. Okay. Commissioner Beauvais, do you want to talk about the applicants at this juncture?
I don't know how you want to proceed. I thought maybe we could each submit our list and we'll see where we have commonalities and move forward that way.
So are you submitting 11 names?
No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that would leave room for one person from Port Angeles Yacht Club, because there was no one from
Okay.
Port Angeles Yacht Club. And that would leave a spot also for commercial boat building and a spot for tribal treaty fishing. And so when I went through, I looked at each person's qualifications, and I looked at why they want to participate on this committee. And I also looked at the areas that they would be representing, so that I made sure that all of the areas, except those 3 for which there were no applications, are represented.
Okay.
My thought is if we haven't got applications from those 2 groups, should we leave those open, or should we fill them with people that want to be part of it?
Well, what I would recommend is keeping the positions open until filled and advertise them on our website and on the Port Pilot. And this is the way a lot of county committees and councils are run too. When they have an opening, it's just open until filled, and they'll accept applications at any time until it's filled. But then the committee can move
So are we
forward.
are we reserving
Yes.
for, and if there's, how long do we keep them open if there's people interested but don't fill that niche? I think if we have interested people and they don't fit that niche, if we don't get somebody, we should fill them with the people that are interested.
I disagree. I think it should be open until filled. When we went through setting up this committee, we asked for specific areas to be represented. So I think we need to do more outreach to try to get people who can represent those areas.
And if we don't get them,
Then it's open until filled.
so we reserve those certain spots, because I don't know if that's actually how we drafted it up. I knew we wanted representation, but we'd rather have 11 than have 8 of willing bodies than keep a bunch open without, if there's nobody interested for the boat building and from the tribal fisheries, if they're not interested, I'd rather put people in there that are.
And Jerry, did you reach out to, say, PA Yacht Club, commercial boat building owners, or tribal fisheries entities potentially to see if they had time and had interest?
Well, we sent emails to some of the groups like the EDC and that type of thing, and asked them to send them out to their members, which was done. Everybody that has moorage with the port got an invitation with the monthly billing. We put it on our website. We advertised in the newspaper, but I did not go down per se and talk to those individual groups.
But personally, I would not want to fill a tribal fishing spot and then have one of the tribes decide that they want to participate, and we say, oh, sorry, your time's up. And so your industry's not going to be represented at all, or your tribe is not going to be.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily that it's a spot, and if you put your application in, you may have to wait until a term expires, but I don't want to select certain groups that wasn't the intent. The intent was to have an advisory board of people interested in participating in it. We would like it from all of those different entities, but no one entity gets a reserved spot on the advisory committee. We would like them to be, and I'm willing to keep it open longer, but at some point in time, we gotta close it and put people in it that are willing to do it.
Yeah, I'm leaning with Steve. I'd like to have staff reach out to tribal treaty fishing parties and commercial boat building and let them know we'd really like to see, and Port Angeles Yacht Club, we'd really like to see representation, and so delay this decision until they have an opportunity to respond. And then that way, yeah, I think we can speak further about our intent
Or
for
we can
today.
submit the names to the executive director and have her include them in our next work session, so we
Yeah.
can.
And I'd like to see a matrix potentially of, you know, the names and who they represent. Are they from PA or SQUIM? I'd like to have a good diversity there, and so we have a good idea of who this is representing, and we don't have too much of one.
So to use all the names that were submitted and put them in a matrix and do a column of the areas of interest, is that what you're saying?
Yes. Does that?
I already did that with mine.
Yeah,
That'd be fine.
I would like that, and then, yeah, reach out, and if there is an interest, then we can just move on from there.
And if we don't receive anything back, we know that we tried and there wasn't anything. So I don't think we reserve a slot for an entity if we specifically tried to get them to be on the advisory committee. And if they don't respond, then fill it, is my perspective.
Are you wanting to wait and make a new selection or make this, okay?
So very much appreciate you all being here, and I think the fact that you did come and speak does indicate an interest, and we always want to support our public's interest in involvement. So know that that's a check mark in that block that you have come to speak to us at this commission, and we very much appreciate you doing that.
And if you do know somebody in the two categories we haven't had any, three categories that we haven't had any applications in, please encourage them to apply, because we would like to have it as well-rounded as possible.
And the application is still available on our website?
I would
I
assume
believe
so,
so,
we'll
yes.
double check.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good, so I'm sorry we're not making a decision today, but we'll rather get it right than get it done quickly. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much for coming.
Okay. Our next item is review timber advisory committee applications. So same kind of thing, but in the,
Very similar.
very similar.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Again, the commission established a timber advisory committee by resolution in April, and under the guise of RCWs, as listed here in the IFC. The intent of the advisory committee is to advise the board on timber issues, including rules and regulations affecting timber harvest and opportunities for advanced wood product supply and manufacture, and also on environmental issues and other issues that the commission sees fit. It will maintain awareness of the board's purpose, authorities, and restraints, and apply such knowledge in reaching any recommendations to the board. Specific areas of recommendation shall be limited to the following, except as may otherwise be directed by the commission from time to time. The main areas that the committee will address is timber issues, continued important engagement with state and federal forest management agencies, including the DNR. And under the DNR, address the arrearages, the endangered species, and other legislative activity. Mass timber products, develop a roadmap for supporting advanced wood products. And environmental timber practices and habitat conservation and carbon sequestration. In difference between the Marina Advisory Committee, this will be a board of 9 members, not 11, for a term of 3 years. Replacement for the unexpired terms will be selected by the Port Commission. Members of the committee shall serve without compensation. As was the Marina Advisory Committee, we recruited through direct mailings, newspaper ads, email, and web posting. Port staff solicited applications for the committee membership with the deadline of June 17, 2016. As part of the membership selection process, the commission may want to consider authorizing an initial TAC budget of $1,500 to $2,500 and encourage the committee to stagger membership. 3 members serving 1-year term, 3 members to serve a 2-year term, and the remaining members to serve a 3-year term. A review of the applications disclosed that all stakeholder groups were represented. Such is not the case for the Marina Advisory Committee. The most represented stakeholders were timber landowner and forest scientist. The commission may want to initially appoint less than the full complement of TAC members to have the option to expand representation on the least represented stakeholder groups. Recommended action is to review the Timber Advisory Committee applications herewith and appoint committee members. And you'll find those applications in the packet. And I think that Commissioner Beauvais has seen them, and we have looked at her most closely on this issue. So.
Okay, thank you very much. So we said that we're selecting 9, and we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. And I was amazed at the qualifications.
Amazing. Really hard.
I know. Steve or Commissioner Burke and Commissioner Beauvais.
I spent
Comments?
hours reviewing the applications both for the Marine Advisory Committee and the Timber Advisory Committee. I found it most difficult with the Timber Advisory Committee. I know almost all of these people, and the wealth of experience and knowledge and their contacts that they would bring to this advisory committee. This committee is not just for this Port Commission, although it will help make our job a little bit easier. This is a group that's going to be able to research topics and make recommendations to us on proposed legislation, timber arrearage, whether or not we support certain habitat conservation plans, what we should do as a county in terms of moving forward wood products, wood product innovations, and what is needed to get another mill open. It's the old chicken and egg thing where supply and demand and which one comes first. They may have to come at the same time. Looking at mass timber issues, the CLT, the cross-laminated timber products. This committee, we're asking them to do a lot. And I foresee this particular committee having to form some subcommittees, such as environmental, to look at some other issues that they may not have enough expertise on, but to kind of get ideas from a subcommittee and more research and to bounce things off of them too. So I would be happy to go through some of the people who I know to talk about.
I was just wondering, would there be a logic behind if because I know some people have a voice in other organizations. If they already have a voice, would that be best to give people that don't have a voice, on the committee, since some of them have a voice already in other organizations?
We could do that, but I would see that would make their voice stronger if they already speak at a different organization.
I was just trying to get as much people as possible involved from that perspective. Trying to make sure we grab people that don't necessarily have a voice.
I'm looking at people with the most expertise and background.
Yeah, I'm not saying that we should or shouldn't do that. I'm just putting that out for thought.
I was wondering if Commissioner Peach might have to recuse himself on certain issues as a county commissioner and sitting on the Board of Natural Resources. I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there. Would there be any conflict if he's advocating for something on our Timber Advisory Committee, then if that's brought forward through the port to the Board of Natural Resources, would he need to potentially recuse himself?
Mr.
Mr.
Attorney?
Barnhart, what do you think?
Well, I think that would be a matter for him to take up with the county prosecuting attorney and see what sort of issues there may be arising out of his position.
Sure, but as we've got 12 applicants, we're going to select 9. Is that something that could potentially be an issue?
It could be. Yeah, I can't quantify that, but that's certainly something that caught my attention when I was reviewing the material.
Okay.
Oh, and that's remove him from having that possible issue there.
Okay.
So you want us to proceed, just give you kind of our name and then synthesize it? Or?
Sure. So, and as Mr. Nimmo highlighted, that we don't have very many that have representation from the mill owner, operator perspective, mass timber, and environmental. Don't have as many of that.
We have one from hardwoods, though. That would be mill.
Okay.
I can't remember which one that was. I think it was Joe Murray.
It was Ron Hearn.
Ron Hearn, I'm sorry, Ron Hearn
All right.
from PA Hardwoods, so that's a mill person. I was trying
No
to,
one from Interfor? Yeah.
I was trying to make sure if it was any of our tenants that I kind of give them a priority if they're our tenants.
Okay. Yeah, and there are some. Grant Monroe is an example. Are there others? Okay. So, we can either go person by person, or we can go commissioner by commissioner with the list.
Yeah, we can go by applicant too, I suppose.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
I know, that's all I got.
All right. Okay.
Wait, I'm sorry, I did miss one.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, so it looks like, from looking at the 3 lists, Harry Bell was on all three lists, so that's circled. John Calhoun is on all 3 lists. That one's circled. Riley Fogarty is on 3, yeah, that one's circled. Dawn Hanson, no, okay. Bill Herman, yep. Ron Hearn, Phil Kitchell, Jim Kitchell, okay. Jim McIntyre, excuse me. Joe Murray, yep, okay. Bill Peach, we discussed that.
Yeah, I didn't put him on. Oh, yeah, that's right, okay. I think that would be McIntyre then, because.
Okay, okay. Got it. Okay, and, let's see, Grant Monroe. Okay, so that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 2 more to select.
We
You
got
have
Gabe
this
on,
one, I've got him down here.
Okay,
we got Gabe on 2.
all right. Okay, all right, so, and then Ron Hearn is 8, so that's 8 in total. 1 more.
We got Gabe on 2, what are the other ones? Bill, no,
Phil
Phil
Kitchell.
on 2.
On 2. And Don Hanson
On
on 1.
1.
Okay, so
Between Gabe and Phil Kitchell.
Phil Kitchell, former county commissioner, worked very hard. It's been 21 years ago now. We went through the same situation back then. We had the same issues back then, 20 years ago, with the former arrearage. And he worked hard in trying to get legislation. In fact, the legislation has been written. It is still open because it never left committee. And the reason it didn't leave committee, why it wasn't pushed forward, was because of a change of governorship in this state. It went from conservative to liberal, and they didn't want to take the chance of losing that legislation. That can still be tweaked and used if we need to. I don't think we will need to, because I think the Trust Land Advisory Committee has already decided that they're not going to recommend to the county commissioners to move forward on trying to get the trust lands returned back to the county. But that being said, Phil knows the history of our county trust lands a lot, and he's been working with the Quileute Valley School District. They have decided to sue DNR for arrearage funds that they do not have, and Bill is one who's working with 2 other counties, Clark and I believe it's Thurston, to draw them into the fold so that we can move forward in a larger concerted effort on timber issues.
So, but what is his role on the Timberlands Advisory Committee?
While she's looking for that, I'll just say, I don't know Gabe Rygard that well. I mean, I've met him a few times. But what I saw on that list that I would like us to respond to is, we have a lot of older people on that list, and we need to start getting younger people involved in this process of participating in government. And I think this would be an opportunity to get some younger people involved that have great experience in timber. But we're always bucking against that issue of our most experienced people are retiring and slowing down, and we need to start raising up some younger people that can take their place, and this is an opportunity that we could possibly do that.
Okay. I noticed they're all male, but we can counter that with senior people of color.
We can. So, let me see.
And I'm game for either one, that's what my thought
That was your
process
thought.
was.
And I don't know Gabe Rygard at all, so I'm kind of deferring to the 2 of you on it.
Did you want to have staff investigate any potential conflicts of interest with, or not staff, have Commissioner Peach work with the county prosecutor to determine a potential conflict of interest to determine whether he's totally off the list or not?
I would prefer to do that, and so we can get that information, and we can think a little bit more about Phil and Gabe. Gabe Rygard is also running for county commissioner, and I wore out 3 pair of boots on my campaign, and I had no spare time. So I want to make sure we have somebody on this committee who is going to have the time this year between now and November. And if he's elected a county commissioner, then he would have the same issue as Bill Peach.
Yeah. And I would like all of them to be willing to commit to whatever time we feel. I mean, that should be part of the process, is being willing to commit the time.
Does Phil Kitchell have any particular role at the Timberlands Advisory Committee?
No. The role that he has had recently was he was hired by the county commissioners to kind of put together the history of the county trust lands and present it to the commissioners so that they had an understanding of the sequential events of our trust lands.
Okay. Well, we can select 7 right now.
6, 7, 8.
Yeah, that's because I circled, no, I didn't. But it,
So at least 8.
okay. Okay, we can select 8 and then leave 1 open between, or we could just select one of these 2 and be done with it.
I'd like to
What's your preference?
I mean, we have plenty of qualified people, so I'd like to just select and kind of
Be done?
be done.
Okay,
We already kicked the Marine Advisory forward.
okay.
Ready
So between these 2, what's your preference?
It sounds like Phil's a wealth of knowledge, and
Yes.
we probably don't want to pass up that opportunity.
Okay, all right, so then we have made our selection then. And,
So I think we can include that in the motion.
yeah. So I will, the motion at
You want
this
to read it,
point.
Connie?
Sure.
I will make a motion that we appoint the following persons to the Timber Advisory Council. Harry Bell, John Calhoun, Riley Fogarty, Bill Herman, Phil Kitchell, Jim McIntyre, Joe Murray, Grant Monroe, and Ron Hearn.
Okay.
That was
We have a motion. Do we have a
Second.
second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
And did that motion?
Yes.
Did
Go
that
ahead.
motion include also, the staff was recommending
Yes.
a budget line? Did your motion include a budget line?
No, but we can give them direction, I think.
They can come request,
Okay.
once the advisory committee meets and they have an idea of what they would like to use some funds for.
So the executive conductor can take care of that?
And that we encourage the committee to stagger membership terms, 3 members to serve 1-year term, 3 to serve 2-year, and the remaining members to serve a 3-year term.
Perfect.
Okay?
And I would also ask that staff send a letter thanking these people for offering to serve on the committee, and a letter also to those that we didn't select, that we will certainly keep their applications on file, and hope that they will attend and provide input at those meetings, because we do still consider them all valuable resources.
Okay.
Staff should probably set up the first meeting, and if it's okay with the other commissioners, I would like to be there to
Yes?
to introduce
Certainly.
the action that we
appreciate you
expect to
doing that.
see from them.
Thank you.
So are they gonna, their first meeting gonna be here
Tomorrow.
as part of a regular meeting or a special meeting, or, because if we all show up, it's a meeting.
Well, I wasn't
I'll be
planning.
there.
Oh, you want to be a representative?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. All right, so do we have any public comments? Yes, Mr. Ripley.
I'm gonna get this on recording.
I'll do that.
This is Peter Ripley of the Ripley Report. Yours truly wasn't present when you selected a port director. Who is it? I know the other guys are probably going to announce it tomorrow, but know me, I like to get my people and my viewers and my readers informed. So who is it?
It is Karen Goshen.
No. Okay, well,
That one.
that's good.
All right.
And I very much appreciate the commission's acknowledgement and confidence in my ability to lead the court board and to work closely with them.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Okay, hearing none, move into items not on the agenda, commissioners, or Karen, do you have any?
Just wanted to mention that the WPPA Commissioner Seminar is coming up in August at Alderbrook, and all 3 commissioners are planning to attend.
Great.
Is that the one that covers new commissioners?
No,
No,
that's
that was
November.
That's the November one, okay, I wasn't sure which one. I need to go to the November one too.
Yep.
By the time you get there, you won't be so new. But he's pulling his hair out already.
I'll still feel new.
Okay, and our next regular meeting is July 11th at 1 p.m. Our next special meeting is July 5th, a week from tomorrow. Commissioners attending the Board of Natural Resources public meeting in Olympia. And then the next special meeting, July 18th, we're going to be covering governance topics. And followed by July 25th, a joint meeting with the county.
And the joint meeting with the county is at 9 a.m.
Okay?
Where?
And is it here or at the county?
We'll be at the county.
Okay.
And that is a Monday?
Yes,
All right, thank you.
falls in place with their work session.
Okay.
So that will be the work session is the port. Will
Yes.
not just be an item on the agenda. We all
That's
will
my
be the
understanding.
agenda.
I
Okay.
will follow up with Jim Jones on that, but he had said he had nothing scheduled and he could spot the court, and I will follow up.
So, and we'll be the first item
We'll
on
be
our
every-
topics, and if they
Yeah.
want to have further items, they'll do that after. We might have items we want to address, and we could come back here, because that is, at 1 o'clock, we have a business meeting that day, that's the 4th.
Correct, and
Right.
so what I did is some of the items that we would have discussed in a work session, I'll just plan to put them on in the afternoon.
Okay,
Unless you, because I don't know how long the county commissioner joint meeting will happen. We will go through the goals of the county and of the board, so there's some opportunity to discuss how both entities can work together to support each other. We've got the workforce training, and I sent Jim Jones several items to consider.
Okay.
And I'll follow up to see if anything else came
do
up.
you foresee it lasting more than 3 hours, so beyond from 9 to 12? Yeah, I don't either.
No.
Okay,
So
good.
if we
So the
wanna
intent
make it-
is shorter than that, good.
Yes.
Okay,
If we want to make it time specific and come back here for an hour, I'm sure we can, and then we could address a few work session items.
yeah, I'd like to do that. All
So
right,
how long would you like to make the meeting with the county? Because there's just some
Well,
transition going back and forth.
yeah,
Is there
no
some-
more than 3 hours. We can get it done in 1 or 2, whatever, I don't know what all those topics are, but
Okay,
let's
I
end it.
misunderstood, I thought maybe you wanted to come back here by 11 and have a work session.
No.
So we'll just, okay, let's
Okay.
just have that with
Okay.
the county.
All right, so now we will move the commission into executive session for those purposes authorized under 4230 Open Meetings Act, and that is to address four items concerning lease of court property, and 1 item concerning the sale of court property, and 2 items concerning the legal risks of current or proposed action. The estimated time for the executive session is an hour and a half, so we will be finishing at approximately 4:20, and the commission is not expected to take any action following the executive session.